What's going on, MSFers? Duelim here, and today we're going to be talking about the immortal weapons and all of the kits, and let me tell you, they're surprisingly good, actually. They stop speed stat, and they also can't be rewound in any game mode, which is really interesting. So that is not tied to raids. They also have a striker skirmisher combo with swordmaster as well, so swordmaster most likely going to be a skirmisher. Getting that striker skirmisher combo, just like Death Seed was with Dark Beast, or even with like Old Man Logan when he's plug and play and stuff like that. So let's break down the whole kit here. We got Lady Bullseye, so we got traits Villain, Global, Mystic, Brawler, Immortal Weapon, and Thunderbolt. She's also speed of 128, which is pretty darn good. She's on par with like Odin. She's one speed faster than Professor X, so not bad speed wise at all. Pretty good. Basic Mystic Blades, attack primary target for 300% damage. On crit, apply offense down up to a maximum of 3 on the primary target. Pretty straightforward, single target, nothing too crazy. Special, energy cost 3/3, disappearing trick. Attack primary and adjacent targets for 250% piercing. Flip all positive effects into negative effects, which is really nice. That's in all game modes. That's really solid. And apply offense down up to a max of 3. On crit, prolong the duration of all negative effects by 1 up to a max of 3 on primary and secondary targets. I'm interested if the flip happens before the prolong. So like if you flip everything and then you prolong it, because that would be pretty interesting. Like if they have defense up for 2 turns, you flip it to defense down for 2 turns, and then you extend it to defense down for 3 turns. That'd be really interesting. I hope so, honestly, but it doesn't say the order of operations here, but that would be really cool, honestly. We got the ultimate fan dance. Energy cost 5/5. Apply offense up to self, all immortal weapon, and Thunderbolt allies. Remember, she is Thunderbolt as well, so potentially plug and play there, which is really nice. Same thing they did with Rachel Summers and Azazel. Attack primary and adjacent targets for 350% piercing. Clear all charged on primary target. Nothing wrong with that. That's pretty useful. In raids, reduce the duration of all positive effects by 2 for primary and secondary targets. That is only in raids, so that's really strong. I can understand why that's only in raids. Apply 1 random negative effect for 2 turns to primary and secondary targets. If this attack crits, apply slow for 2 turns, offense down for 2 turns, and defense down for 2 turns to the primary target and secondary targets. This attack gains 500% focus and cannot be dodged or blocked. So pretty solid ultimate here. Clearing charge, primary and adjacent, also doing piercing as well, which is a lot of damage. Obviously, you see Damon doing a lot of damage with that 400% damage, and then the double as well. But piercing is really, really strong. That's what Hobgoblin has on his special, which is why he's hitting really, really hard. And now we got the passive here. Never misses. On spawn, apply immunity for 2 turns to self and all immortal weapon allies. So immunity on spawn, 2 turns. Pretty awesome. In raids, generate 4 ability energy for self and all immortal weapon allies. So pretty much making it a little bit easier to sim raids so we don't have to play them, which obviously that is the goal, right? When 1 or more enemies with offense down are attacked, attack the primary target that attacked for 5% of that target's max health. So essentially like a little ping, kind of like Kestrel, but it's max health base, so that's pretty strong. Could be interesting in like a dark dimension as well. 5% of the target's max health. That's a lot of health, especially in like a dark dimension. That's pretty cool. And it's max health, not current health as well. So that's always going to hit for the same amount. So that's pretty solid. For each immortal weapon or Thunderbolt ally, gain 10% crit chance and gain 5% crit damage. So she's going to have 40% crit chance right off the rip. So making her either a raider just to top off that crit chance, to make sure those crits hit, to make sure the special does what it needs to do, also, or the ultimate does what it needs to do to apply the slows, offense down and defense down. It's probably going to be the way to go for her. Even though you're going to get that striker skirmisher combo with Swordmaster, I think it would be better to put the extra crit chance on her to make sure that works. If this character has 3 or more immortal weapon allies, reduce the crit chance of all enemies by 100%. Enemies cannot have their speed increased except by positive effects, so that's kind of like Emma, but you do need at least 3 immortal weapons to make that work. Now, I do find it pretty interesting that the passive is called Never Misses, but it has nothing to do with getting extra accuracy or blind not affecting them. So I thought that was weird. I wanted to call it out. Thought that was a little odd. I was really expecting this to be like, hey, blind doesn't affect them. Hey, they can never miss no matter what, but I guess not. But yeah, pretty cool. It's a topping speed stat. Nothing wrong with that. Let's get to the next one. We got Swordmaster. That's right. Speed of 120. A little bit slower. Still decent, though. On par with, like, Nightcrawler when he doesn't spawn with speed up. So still decently fast, but nothing too crazy. We got Hero, Global, Mystic, Brawler, Immortal Weapon, and he's also a Mighty Avenger. So he's going to be slotting into that Mighty Avenger team as well, which is pretty awesome. So we got the basic Star Cutter on attack primary target for 320% piercing. Apply 1 defense down up to a max of 3. Chain to 2 adjacent targets. Apply defense down up to a max of 3. Counterattacks break this chain. Super easy. We got some piercing. Defense down for the ISO attack as well. Now we got the special Whirling Assault. If this character has 3 or more Immortal Weapon or Mighty Avenger allies, reduce the duration of immunity and safeguard by 2 on all enemies. That's pretty nuts. That's really good. So getting that safeguard and immunity off immediately is very strong. That's going to help out going against something like the Phoenix Force and like a Quasar together because they have that immunity and safeguard on spawn. So that'll be pretty interesting to see if that's going to be able to take out something like that in Crucible. That'll be pretty interesting because that is not tied to raids there. This part is, though. In raids, reduce the duration of all positive effects by 2 on all enemies instead. That's pretty awesome as well. Attack all enemies with 300% piercing. Apply 2 defense down up to a maximum of 3. Trauma for 2 turns and heal block for 2 turns. That is not in raids. So defense down, trauma, and heal block on a turn 1 special is pretty solid. In raids, apply stun to the enemy with the highest damage. This attack cannot be blocked, counterattacked, or dodged. Now... Now, I am curious to see if this is going to be an issue with targeting or anything like that, but it is an attack all enemies, which is new wording that they're using. So this is essentially everybody's getting hit. Attack all is new wording that I've seen them use. They use this a lot in Raid Shadow Legends, actually, where it's an attack all. You attack all enemies, right? So it's attacking everybody on the board instead of just saying like AoE or anything like that. So I think they're using this new wording, which is kind of nice. Ultimate Omni Slash, energy cost 7/7. Clear all barrier on all enemies. That's pretty nice. Apply stun to the primary target. Apply 3 defense down up to a maximum of 3. I don't know why that's a thing. +3. I guess it's +3 defense down up to a max of 3 and attack the primary target with 300% piercing. Nothing too crazy, but you bonus attack 3 times for 100% piercing each. So that's pretty nuts. And then in raids, this ability deals double damage. So in raids, this is really going to hit hard. On kill, apply stun to all adjacent targets. Now, this is not tied to raids here. So if you somehow knock somebody low and you're able to kill somebody with this is kind of nuts. Or if there's like a Greg on the field, you just kill Greg and you stun all adjacent targets, you could stun 3 people technically. That's kind of nuts. This could also be like a new SNF comp, like bring them all together with like Void Knight, and then you able to tunnel down one of them, you kill the middle one, and then it stuns everybody. That's kind of nuts. That's pretty interesting. I actually kind of like that. Now, he is kind of slow at 120, but that's pretty interesting. Could be good for war as well. So I really like that. That's pretty cool. We got Descendant of Fushi. I hope I said that right. I probably didn't, though. On spawn, apply Safeguard to self and all Immortal Weapon allies for 2 turns. When an enemy with defense down is attacked, 50% chance to generate 1 ability energy for self and all Immortal Weapon allies. Heals self and all Immortal Weapon allies by 5% of this character's max health. In raids, always generate the ability energy and lower armor. Well, this is separate. Lower armor by 25% for enemies with stun. That's kind of cool. And then in raids, lower by an additional 75% for enemies with stun, so 100%. And then if this character has 3 or more Immortal Weapon allies, enemies cannot gain offense up. That's also pretty helpful. Nothing wrong with that. Help out the survivability of this team. Last up, we got Steel Serpent here. So traits: Villain, Global, Mystic, Controller, Immortal Weapon, and this guy is nuts. Remember how I was talking about the Striker Skirmisher combo? It wasn't Swordmaster, it was Steel Serpent. My bad. But this guy is kind of nuts. So basic Steel Strikes. This might be one of the best basic attacks in the game. This is disgusting. So attack primary for 300% damage. Apply 1 slow up to a max of 3. Chain to 2 adjacent targets for 300% damage. Apply slow up to a max of 3. Apply trauma +1 trauma up to a max of 2 to targets that have offense down, who they're gonna have offense down from Lady Bullseye, right? We talked about that. Defense down and slow, which they're gonna have from Lady Bullseye. from her ultimate when it crits. This is really, really strong. Counterattack breaks this chain. Attack primary target for 244% damage. Apply slow up to a max of 3. So the ISO attack does not apply that extra trauma, but the ISO attack does apply a slow, which is really, really nice. So this getting that extra trauma is really, really solid. That's really good. Then we have Special Serpent Slam. Energy cost 3/3. Attack primary and adjacent targets for 300% piercing. Flip all positive effects into negative effects. Apply +1 slow up to a max of 3. That's really good. Primary and adjacent, slow on everybody. Flip all positive effects into negative effects. That's really solid. None of that's in raids. This part is raids. Reduce speed bar by 25% for all targets. So that's still a really good ability. He's very slow at 107, but that's still a really good ability. Flip all positive effects into negative effects. That's I think Franklin does that with his special as well. So that's really, really solid. Nothing wrong with that. Ultimate, Venomous Fist. Energy cost 5/7. Clear barrier from all enemies. Transfer all positive effects from an Iron Fist ally to self. This attack gains 10% damage per positive effect on self and 10% damage per negative effect on the primary target. So kind of like a little Shang-Chi action there. In raids, reduce the duration of all positive effects by 2 on all enemies. That's nuts. Attack primary target for 500% piercing and apply 2 slow up to a max of 3. Now, this is conditional on kill, which I really like. I like that they're adding this kind of stuff, that like on kill, on crit, on these conditions, you get more out of the ability, which I really, really like. So on kill, apply +3 slow up to a max of 3 to all enemies. In raids, reduce all enemy speed bar by 25%. This attack cannot be dodged. So remember, on kill, applies +3 slows to a max of 3 to all enemies. That is every game mode. So you could potentially have slow on all 4 characters that are out there. Or if you're in like a Dark Dimension or the Blue Marvel campaign, this could be really good because you're getting slow out there on everybody on the board. So that's very, very solid. You love to see it. Now, passive, the Way of the Serpent on a mortal weapon ally turn. Gain assist now. So yeah, he's just gaining assist now, just like Dark Beast and Death Seed. So this guy's going to be a skirmisher, which when one or more enemies with slow is attacked, reduce the primary target of that attack's speed bar by 5%. So the person who's getting attacked, essentially, by 5%. In rage, reduce the speed bar by 5% for all enemies instead. So it's always going to be rewinding over and over and over again. In raids, if the targets have 3 or more turns of slow, apply ability block to the primary target of that attack, which is really, really nice. If this character has 3 or more immortal mortal weapon allies, self and all immortal weapon allies cannot have their speed bar reduced. And I love that it's 3 immortal weapon allies, not 4. So you don't need the full team. So still being able to plug and play in Crucible, throw in a Mephisto, throw in an Odin, throw in a Professor X, whatever it is. So now they can't have their speed bar reduced as well, which is amazing. So stopping enemy speed stat as well as can't have their speed bar reduced is very, very, very strong. In raids, this character and immortal weapon allies cannot gain a vulnerable as well. So that's only tied to raid, which is unfortunate. And this always screams like Cabal to me. But Cabal is really falling out of favor. And also, they already stopped the crits. Lady Bullseye already stops the crits anyway. So, let's get into the reworks. Yeah, Iron Fist. That's right. The rework no one wanted. Increase health by 500%. Same thing with damage. Armor 750%. Focus 440. Resist 508. He also got a speed boost up to 113 as well. So, he's a little bit faster, which is nice. So, we got the basic. Got a little bit more damage on the chain section of the basic. So, it's in line with the primary target, so the 2 is now at 270. For the special here, they didn't bold it, but there's a little bit of differences. So if this character has 3 or more immortal weapon allies, reduce the duration of all negative effects on self and all immortal weapon allies by 2, which is really, really nice. And this is reduce the duration, so this reduces trauma as well. And this is not tied to raid, so this is very solid, actually. Heal self for 30% of this character's max health. That's a massive heal. And gain defense up for 2 turns. That's also really, really nice. Heal all defender, immortal weapon, allies for 30% of the character's max health. Heal the most injured ally for 10% of this character's max health. Also, fill his speed bar by 30%. In raids, gain 2 charge. We'll talk about what charge does. Up to a max of 5. Apply defense up for 2 turns to all immortal weapon allies, which is really great. So this is a big heal, reducing trauma, reducing all negative effects by 2, and also getting defense up, a massive heal. He's getting speed bar. Really good stuff here. Ultimate, the Iron Fist. So clear barrier on all enemies. Clear 5 positive effects from the primary target. Attack primary target for 500% damage and apply offense down. Apply speed up for 2 turns to self and all immortal weapon allies. That's not in raids, so that's pretty solid. In raids, reduce the duration of all negative effects on self and immortal weapon allies by 2. Again, another cleanse, which is really, really good. That's only in raids, though. On kill, if this character has 3 or more immortal weapon allies, gain +5 charge up to a max of 5. Again, we'll talk about charges right now. This attack cannot be blocked or dodged, so this is going to hit very hard. I love to see this. Very, very good. Now, for the passive, on spawn, gain charge and gain +1 charge per immortal weapon ally up to a maximum of 5 charged, obviously. Heal self and all immortal weapon allies for 30% of this character's max health. That's on spawn, so that's essentially healing you the second you come in. That's really great for raids, obviously. That's even great for the second hit in like a war or crucible. If you have to double hit this team, they're pretty much always going to start with max health, right? Like 30%, that's a good amount, a good chunk of health to start off with. So that's really, really solid, especially because we have the rework on Iron Fist. He's already going to be 3 diamond. He's already going to be really high up there. So he's going to be able to start with max health and start his allies with max health pretty much all the time, which is really nice. This character has 3 immortal weapon allies, gain taunt for 2 turns. So he's a pre-taunter as well, kind of like Man-Thing, where he needed 3 Night Stalker allies. On turn, heal self and all defender, hero for hire, and immortal weapon allies for 30% of this character's max health. When this character drops below 50% health, if this character has charged, heal self and all immortal weapon allies for 30% of this character's max health. Apply defense up for 2 turns as well. Reduce taunt on self by 2, so trauma won't matter there. He can still reduce the taunt and lose 1 charge. On any ally turn, lose 1 charge. If this character and immortal weapon allies gain 200% focus per charge on this character, so a lot of focus going out there as well, which is really, really nice. That's essentially 1,000% focus to start off the fight for Lady Bullseye to use her ultimate. While this character has charged, this character and immortal weapon allies gain 45% damage reduction up to a maximum of 80% damage reduction. So this is really interesting because this is not in raids. So damage reduction is very, very strong. I'm curious to see how tanky this team is really going to be, but this is very good if you don't have somebody that can remove charges. Now, we got Iron Fist World War II, got a decent stat upgrade. I also love this picture here with just the boot. I find that hilarious. But yeah, decent stat upgrade. Everything kind of went up by 300% roughly. We also have some changes to the kit. Nothing too crazy, though, just adding immortal weapon to the special, so he can now revive an immortal weapon and an invader, obviously. Also clearing heal block in raids and healing immortal allies for 20% of this character's max health. The ultimate here, again, reviving a dead invader here. Extend all positive effects by 1 up to a max of 3 on self and all invader and immortal weapon allies. Heal self and immortal weapon allies for 35% of this character's max health. Super easy, super straightforward. Nothing too crazy changing there. And then in the passive here, on any immortal weapon allies turn, heal self and immortal weapon allies for 6% of this character's max health. So this team is going to be healing so much. There's going to need to be something like trauma heal block to really work on this team to take them out. Good thing is Green Goblin Classic does have a trauma heal block, so I think the Insidious Superior Sinister 6 could potentially take them out in Crucible because of that trauma heal block, as long as they're not being able to get any turns. But again, they can't be rewound, so that's really, really interesting. But they do have a lot of heroes, so Vulture can put the slow out there pretty quickly, and you could potentially start lapping them. But again, the fact that they can't be rewound makes them a lot better. A lot better. Plus, guess what? They have Safeguard, they have immunity, so you're going to need to bring in like a Mysterio as well to stop the immunity. So they're going to be very, very tanky. And that's it. This team is pretty solid, honestly. I actually really like this team. They've been doing a good job with raid teams and making them actually interesting and make me want to use them outside of just simming in raids. So I want to give credit to Scopely on this. They actually have done a lot better with raid teams. They've made them more interesting instead of just build them because we have to, sim because we don't want to play it, and just move on. So I'm actually pretty impressed by this. I like these kits. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Until next time, this has been Duelim. Later, MSFers.